The Queen of England called for a very big and very secret meeting. She wanted every single person in her family to be there, but one person did not show up at all. That person was Meghan Markle. I have to be very truthful with you about this. I do not think she was wrong for staying away from that house. In fact, I completely understand why she did not want to go. Have you ever seen the movie called Get Out? It is a very famous movie about a person who goes to a big house in the country with people who are not like them. In that movie, things go very, very wrong. Many people believe that nothing good ever happens when you are invited to a big house in the woods or the countryside by people who have a lot of power. We have all seen how those scary stories finish. We know how the story ends, and it is usually not a happy ending for the person who was invited. It was a very scary idea to many people watching. A famous funny man named Trevor talked about Meghan on live television. He was very, very mean to her. This was a giant surprise for everyone who was watching that night. Most people thought he was her friend. He was probably the last person anyone expected to say such mean things. No one thought he would swing his words like a baseball bat at her. He really changed his mind about her, and he let everyone know it. Before we get into all the details, you should click the button to subscribe to this channel. It does not cost you any money at all to do that. It is totally free. But even though it is free for you, it really means a lot to me and helps me out. It makes a big difference for the show. I think Harry is behaving in a way that is not very nice. He keeps saying that his life was so hard and so sad. But the truth is that everyone has a hard life sometimes. Life is difficult for every person on this planet. You were the prince of a whole country. You had so much money and so many people to help you. People remember when you wore a very bad costume that looked like a Nazi many years ago. And now, you are trying to act like you are as good and holy as the Pope. People find that very hard to believe. Many people just want to tell him to be quiet and stop complaining so much, because he has had it much better than most people in the world. For a long time, Trevor seemed to like Meghan. He seemed to believe her side of the story. He would talk about her in public and say she was doing a good job. He would make jokes about the royal family and say they were the problem. He made it sound like Meghan was the one who had to deal with a very messy and mean system. He acted like she was the person who was being treated unfairly by the king and the queen. He was on her side for many years, and he defended her when other people said mean things about her. But something changed his mind. There was a big interview on a show called 60 Minutes. This was a chance for everyone to hear Harry and Meghan talk about their lives, but many people were tired of hearing it. They had already done a 2-hour talk with a woman named Oprah. They also had a very long show on Netflix that had 6 parts. It felt like they were saying the same things over and over again. People were starting to get bored. They were starting to wonder why the couple felt the need to keep telling the same stories about how sad they were. So when Trevor suddenly changed his mind and started making jokes about them, the whole room felt different. It was like the air in the room changed instantly. When a person who used to be your friend starts to point out your mistakes, that is when you know things are going bad. It means the mood of the whole world has changed. People realized that even the people who liked them before were starting to find them a little bit silly or annoying. It was a very big moment for everyone who follows the news about the royals. I know some people did not like the name they picked for their baby, Archie. They thought it was a strange name for a royal baby. But there was one person who was very, very happy about it. That person was the Queen. She was happy because of a very funny and slightly mean reason. For 9 whole months while Meghan was pregnant, the Queen was probably worried. She was probably saying to herself, "Please do not let the baby have a name like Jamal." She was worried the baby would not sound like a traditional royal. This was a joke about how the royal family thinks about skin color and names. It was a way to show that the family is very old-fashioned and worried about things that do not really matter. It all started back when their first son, Archie, was born. Trevor was making many jokes about the royal family back then. He was laughing about how they were so stressed out over what to name a tiny baby. He made fun of all the drama inside the big palace. He made fun of their old traditions that did not make sense to normal people. He thought the whole thing was like a funny play or a movie. He was laughing at the system, not at the people themselves. He still seemed to think the royal family was the one being silly. But then Prince Harry did something very strange. He went to a big party for a movie. He saw the man who is the boss of the Disney company. Instead of talking about being a prince, he started asking the boss for a job for Meghan. He wanted her to do voices for cartoon movies. He was trying to get her work while they were standing on a red carpet. This looked very strange to people. It looked like he was hustling. That means he was trying very hard to get money and work in a way that felt a little bit desperate. This is when Trevor Noah started to see things in a new way. He realized they were not just people who wanted to be left alone. He was trying to sell his wife's skills to a big movie boss. He was telling the man that his wife does a very good voice of a character named Timon from The Lion King. He was acting like a salesman. Before this happened, Trevor was still giving Meghan the benefit of the doubt. He was still trying to be nice. But you have to admit that the royal family has changed a lot. In the old days, being a king or a queen was very powerful. If you married a king's daughter, he might give you a whole piece of land or a whole country as a gift. It was very serious and very grand. Now the royalty has fallen off. It is not as cool as it used to be. Now it is just a prince asking for a job. Trevor made a joke about Harry saying, "My wife actually does a very good voice. Come on, baby, do the thing, say the words from the movie." It made them look a little bit silly. The laughs were not about the old palace anymore. The laughs were now about Harry and Meghan themselves. It sounded like he no longer believed they were just victims of a hard system. He started to think they were just trying to be famous in Hollywood. Then came a moment that made many people raise their eyebrows. This was the story about the Disney boss at the movie premiere. People could not believe that a prince would act like that on a red carpet. It looked like a serious hustle. It did not look like royal behavior. It looked like they were trying very hard to stay famous and make a lot of money. Trevor Noah saw this and his whole opinion changed. Suddenly, the whole situation did not look like a sad story about a family fight. It looked like a business plan. Harry said that racism was a very big reason why they decided to leave England. He said people were mean to them because of the color of Meghan's skin. Trevor Noah made a joke about this that was very sharp. He said that things must have been really, really bad at the palace if they moved to America to get away from racism. That is a funny joke because America has many problems with racism too. If you think America is the place to go to find peace, then the place you left must have been very scary indeed. He broke it down in a way that was both mean and very funny. In the old days when royals got married, it changed the whole world. It changed where the borders of countries were. It stopped wars and started new alliances. It was about power and history. It was about things that lasted for hundreds of years. But now the story of the royals has changed into something else. It is now about trying to get a job in a cartoon movie. It is about selling books and making TV shows. That is a very big change from how things used to be. It makes the royals look like they are just like any other famous people on the internet. Prince Harry wrote a book about his life. This book broke a world record for being the fastest-selling book of its kind. It is very popular. Trevor Noah made a joke about the book. He called it the story of Prince Harold and his frozen yogurt slinger. He even joked that they were making a version of the book for little children. He said it was like the story of the princess and the pea, but he called it The Prince and the Penis. This was a joke about a part of Harry's book where he talked about a very private part of his body getting too cold. It made the prince look very silly. The story went from being about history and kings to being about small, private things that no one really needed to know. The contrast was very big and it hit people hard. Then there was the story about Meghan and the pretzels. People wanted to know why she was making her own bags of pretzels. She would take pretzels out of one bag and put them into a different bag that looked more expensive. This confused a lot of people. They did not understand why she was doing that. It looked like she was trying to make everything in her life look like it was from a fancy store. Trevor Noah went from being a person who defended Meghan to being a person who pointed out her mistakes in real time. Once he started doing that, other funny people joined in very fast. The men who have late-night talk shows on TV did not hold back at all. Jimmy Kimmel was one of the first people to say that there were problems with their story. He pointed out things that did not make sense. Once that door was opened, everyone started making jokes. The jokes were flying everywhere like birds in the sky. It seemed like everyone had a joke to tell about the prince and his wife. The couple had a funny way of talking to each other. They used the letters H and M as nicknames. Harry would call Meghan M, and Meghan would call Harry H. Their friends would even call them by these letters. They acted like it was a big romantic secret, but to other people it just seemed a little bit fake. It seemed like they were trying too hard to be cute. Jimmy Kimmel made fun of this. He asked if it was a mystery for the ages. He thought it was silly that they used such simple letters for names like they were in a movie. Their big reason for leaving the royal family was that they said people were racist. This was the biggest news story in the world for a while. They said the palace was a very mean place to live. They said they had to leave to start a new life in America where they could be happy. They wanted a fresh start away from all the rules and all the mean people in England. They wanted to be free to live their own lives without anyone telling them what to do. They told this story to everyone who would listen. Jimmy Kimmel found something very funny about that story. He made a joke about what happened to the wax statues of Harry and Meghan at a museum. When they left the family, the museum took their statues away from the king and queen. Jimmy Kimmel pretended that he found a worker at the museum who was keeping the statues. He made a very dirty joke about the statues. He said he was not using the statues for sex stuff. It was a very weird and gross joke, but it showed that people were not taking the couple seriously anymore. Even though the joke was very strange, people laughed. Then another funny man named Conan O'Brien made it go even further. He pretended that the statues were in a loving home now. He said he treated the statues better than the museum ever did. He joked that the museum did not appreciate how soft Meghan's hands were or how nice Harry's lips looked. He was being very silly, but it showed that the couple had become a joke to many people. The way they talked about their lives made people want to laugh at them instead of feeling sorry for them. Then there was a story about Harry's new job. He stopped being a prince and started working for a company. Some people joked that he was working for the CIA, which is a secret spy group. But he said he was just a person who helped sell jars of jam. He was working for Meghan's new brand. They were selling jam made from fruit. People thought this was very funny. A prince who used to live in a castle was now selling jam. They joked that the jam was made from special oils in the place where they live, which is called Montecito. Jimmy Kimmel was not done making jokes yet. When Harry released his big book, Jimmy turned it into a lot of comedy material. The book was very long. It had hundreds of pages. It was full of stories about the prince's life. It told about fights he had with his brother and his father. It told secrets about what happens behind the big walls of the palace. It was like a very long diary that everyone could read. Jimmy Kimmel treated it like a soap opera. He said it was just a story about a rich, white family that does not get along and treats each other badly. Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about a show called The Crown. That is a show on TV about the royal family. He said the real family is just like the show. He also made a joke about the actress who played the Queen on TV. He said she was so good at acting that Prince Harry called her up to ask for money. The crowd laughed very loud at that. They thought it was funny that Harry would be so desperate for money that he would call an actress. It showed that people thought the couple was only interested in getting more money. Then Jimmy Fallon joined in on the fun. He said that Harry and Meghan would still get millions of dollars for doing almost nothing. He said that a company called Netflix was paying them a lot of money just to exist. They were getting paid to tell their story, but many people felt like they had already heard the story too many times. It made people feel like the couple was getting rich without doing any real work. This made many people feel a little bit annoyed with them. There was a very famous clip of Meghan. In the clip, she was taking pretzels out of a bag. She was putting them into a different, fancier bag. This small moment became very famous on the internet. People could not stop talking about it. To many people, it looked like she was trying to make a normal life look like a fancy commercial. It looked staged and fake. The internet ran wild with this. People made many jokes about how she was trying to control how everyone saw her, even when she was just eating a snack. One funny man said he could not believe that Meghan did not know the royal family was old-fashioned. He said, "You did Google this?" He meant that she should have looked them up on the internet before she married into the family. He said the royal family has a very long history of being problematic. He thought it was funny that she acted so surprised by how they acted. He said they were the original people who were not nice to others. He did not feel sorry for her at all because he thought she should have known better. Another funny man named Stephen Colbert noticed something else. He noticed how they tried to make their names into a brand. They used the letters H and M like they were a company that sells clothes or expensive bags. He said it was like they were on a show called Shark Tank. That is a show where people try to get money for their business ideas. He said they were trying to turn their marriage into a way to make money. He thought all the nicknames and the way they acted for the cameras looked like a big marketing plan. Colbert said that everything about the couple looked very produced. It did not look like real life. It looked like they had a team of people telling them how to stand and what to say. He joked that they were not just living their lives, they were running a campaign to be famous. He thought the way they acted was very fake. He said they were trying to control their image so much that it did not feel human anymore. It felt like they were characters in a play. Then there was the joke about the baby again. Meghan said that someone in the family asked how brown the baby's skin would be. She said this was very racist. But a comedian said that this is not always racist. He said that even black families wonder what a new baby will look like. They wonder if the baby will have dark skin or light skin. He said it is just something that people are curious about when a baby is coming. He thought she was making a big deal out of something that happens in many families. Conan O'Brien pushed the jokes even further into strange places. He talked about the museum worker again. He made a whole long story about the wax statues. He acted like he was the one who was taking care of them. He made it sound very weird and silly. He was really leaning into the joke. He was acting like the statues were real people who were living in his house. The people watching thought it was very funny because it was so ridiculous. It showed how strange the couple's public image had become. He said that Meghan wants to be famous more than anything else. He said she found the one man in the world who could make her the most famous person ever. But then, once she got to the castle, she realized it was not what she wanted. She was bored and unhappy. Conan joked that if she had not married the prince, she would have been on a reality show like The Bachelor. He said she would just be another girl trying to get famous on TV. He thought she was just an actress who wanted a bigger stage. Conan said that Meghan acts like she is very busy all the time. She acts like she has so much to do because she is a duchess. She has a podcast and a show and a business. But Conan thought it was all very fake. He said she was just doing wealthy person things. He made a funny voice to show how she talks. He made her sound like she was pretending to be important. He said it was all just for show and that she was not really doing anything that mattered to regular people. He also made fun of Harry. He said that Harry is like the royal family's version of Kanye West. Kanye is a famous rapper who says many wild things. Conan said that Harry sometimes does things that are very confusing and bad, like wearing a Nazi costume. He said Harry is the person in the family who causes the most trouble. He made a joke that they wanted to spend the public's money in both England and Canada. He said they wanted all the perks of being royal without doing any of the hard work. Conan also talked about Meghan's new business. She started a brand that sells things like jam and lifestyle products. Conan joked that these things were being sold for a lot of money like they were treasures. But in reality, they were just jars of jam. He thought it was funny that she was trying to act like a normal person while also selling very expensive things to people. He said it was another example of her trying to have it both ways. She wanted to be a regular person, but also a very rich and famous one. He also made fun of the Netflix show they made. He said they were making points about serious things like racism. But then they would start calling each other H and M, and it made him want to turn off the TV. He thought it was too much. He thought it was annoying and fake. He did not want to hear about their special nicknames anymore. He just wanted them to be quiet. He thought the way they acted in the documentary was not very relatable to most people who have real problems. One of the funniest jokes was about a date they went on. Harry wrote in his book that he and Meghan pulled the pin on a fun grenade. That is a very strange way to say they had a good time. A comedian said that after he read that, he actually started to like Prince Andrew better. That is a very mean joke because Prince Andrew is not a liked person at all. It showed that Harry's writing was so bad and so annoying that it made people want to support people who are much worse than him. Another joke was about how Meghan had to learn to curtsy. A curtsy is a special way to bow to a queen. Harry said it was very hard to explain to an American girl that she had to bow to his grandmother. But the comedian said, maybe just tell her she is the queen. He thought it was silly that Harry made it sound like such a big, difficult secret. Everyone in the world knows that you have to bow to the Queen of England. It is not a surprise. He thought they were making a big drama out of nothing. Then there were the stand-up comedians. They were even meaner than the TV hosts. When a man named Joe Coy was the host of a big awards show, he made many jokes about them. He said they were complaining that they had to pay for their own security. They were worried about their safety. But Joe Coy said that after watching 6 episodes of their show, he wanted to attack them too. He was joking, of course, but it showed how much their show had annoyed people. He thought they were talking too much. Joe Coy said they were creatures of a fragile generation. He said they were too sensitive. He told them they should take a hint from the Queen. The Queen never complained and she never explained things to the public. She was very quiet and she did her job. Joe Coy thought Harry and Meghan should try being quiet for a change. He said that being heard speaking in public all the time is not always a good thing. He thought they were making themselves look bad by talking so much. He also talked about their big deals with Netflix. They got paid millions and millions of dollars, but he asked if anyone could actually name a single show they made that was good. He said it looked like they were getting all that money just for existing and being famous. It did not look like they were actually doing any work. This made the audience laugh because many people feel the same way. They feel like the couple is famous for being famous and nothing else. But if Joe Coy was mean, Chris Rock was even meaner. He really went after them. He talked about the Oprah interview too. He said Meghan was acting like she was a victim. He said she was complaining about her life even though she is very, very privileged. She has more money and more fame than almost anyone else. Chris Rock did not feel sorry for her at all. He thought her complaints were ridiculous. He said her life was not hard at all compared to most people in the world. He made a very funny comparison. He said the royal family is like a gang. He said you cannot join a group of people and then act surprised by how they act. He said, they are the royal family, they are the original racists. He thought it was funny that she expected them to be nice and modern. He said she should have known what she was getting into. He compared it to joining a group of people who love loud cars and then complaining that the cars are too loud. It just does not make any sense. Chris Rock also talked about the skin color joke. He said that every family wonders what a baby will look like. He said that even black people want to know how brown a baby will be. He did not think it was a big deal. He thought it was just a normal thing that families talk about. He thought Meghan was trying to make it sound like a giant scandal when it was really just a normal conversation. He said that curiosity is not the same thing as being mean or being racist. He also made a joke about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a man who builds rockets to go to Mars. Chris Rock said it was strange that Elon was wasting his time with Twitter. He said it was like a prince giving up his whole life just to marry an actress from a show called Suits. He thought both things were a waste of time. He thought Harry gave up too much for something that was not worth it. He made it clear that he did not think highly of the couple's choices. Once Chris Rock said those things, it felt like everyone was allowed to be mean to them. The door was wide open. More comedians started to say what they really thought. A woman named Nikki Glazer said that without the royal family, no one would care about Meghan. She said there would be no big Netflix deals and no Oprah interviews. She said that Meghan's whole fame comes from the person she married. She thought it was funny that Meghan acts like she did it all on her own. Another comedian named Godfrey noticed that everything they do looks very rehearsed. He said that every interview and every speech feels like they practiced it 100 times. It does not feel real or honest. It feels like they are acting. He made fun of how Meghan talks to people. He said she talks to people like they are not very smart. He thought she was trying too hard to seem like a good person while also being a bit of a snob. It was a very sharp observation. In England, the jokes were even stronger. British comedians were very upset with the couple. They felt like the couple was being ungrateful. A man named Jimmy Carr made a joke about how Meghan says she is a feminist. A feminist is someone who believes women should be independent and strong. But Jimmy Carr said that as soon as she met a prince, she gave up her whole career to be with him. He thought that was a big contradiction. He thought it was funny that she changed her whole life for a man. Jimmy Carr also made fun of the photos of Meghan that are on the internet. He said the internet never forgets anything. Even if she tries to change her image now, people will always remember the old videos and the old pictures. He said you cannot just erase the past. He also made a joke about how they wanted to use the public's money. In England, the people pay taxes to support the royal family. Many people were mad that they were paying for a prince who was always complaining about them. Another comedian named Simon Brodkin actually watched their whole Netflix show. That is 6 hours of television. He said it was very hard to get through. He thought the show was supposed to make people like them, but it did a bad job. He said the part where they started talking about their nicknames was the worst part. He thought it made them look very out of touch with reality. He said that instead of making people feel sorry for them, the show just gave comedians more things to laugh about. Bill Maher is a man who talks about politics and news. He said he saw the pattern from the beginning. He thought the couple was always going to be a problem. He said the Queen was very different. She stayed quiet for her whole life. She did not give many interviews. Bill Maher thought that staying quiet was a better way to get respect. He thought that the more Harry and Meghan talked, the less people liked them. He thought they were talking themselves into a hole. Bill Maher said the thing that really made people mad was the complaining. He said that all over the world, people have real problems. They have to pay bills, they have to work hard jobs, and they have to worry about their health. Then, they see two very rich people on TV crying about how hard their lives are in a giant mansion. He said that contrast is why people do not like them. It is hard to feel sorry for a prince when you are struggling to buy food for your own family. He also said that it feels like the couple is demanding that everyone agrees with them. He said it feels like if you do not agree with their story, they will call you a bad person. Bill Maher did not like that at all. He said he was not going to play along with their script. He was not going to say they were victims when they were clearly very lucky people. He made it very clear that he was not on their side and that he thought they were being very selfish. John Oliver is a very smart man who has a show on HBO. He is usually very careful with his words, but even he started to question the whole situation. He did not make a big, loud joke. Instead, he just broke it down in a very calm way. He pointed out things that did not make sense. When a person as smart as John Oliver starts to doubt you, it is a very bad sign. It means that the people who usually support you are starting to walk away. On a show called Saturday Night Live, a man named Colin Jost made jokes about them for years. He said that no one knew what to do with them. The royal family did not want them because of all the drama, but Hollywood did not really know where they fit in either. They were in a strange middle ground. They were not really royals anymore, but they were not really movie stars either. They were just in a public limbo where they were famous but had no real purpose. They even made a joke on Saturday Night Live that Harry was like a tech billionaire. They said he was like a person who had a perfect life and then decided to break everything just to see what would happen. They thought he was chasing something that he did not even understand. The audience understood the joke immediately. They thought it was a perfect way to describe how Harry had changed his life for no clear reason. It made him look very confused. The show even made funny sketches about their marriage. They imagined their life like it was a silly sitcom on TV. Once people start turning your real life into a cartoon or a sketch, you know your public image has changed. You are no longer a person to be respected. You are a character to be laughed at. That is what happened to Harry and Meghan. They became characters in a big comedy show that the whole world was watching and laughing at together. The most mean jokes came from a show with puppets called Spitting Image. They made a puppet of Meghan that was very funny and very mean. The puppet version of her was always trying to be the center of attention. They made a joke about her soul food, which was just a bag of chips with a flower on top. It was a joke about how she tries to make everything look fancy when it is really just normal. The puppet sketches were very popular on the internet because they were so sharp. The puppet version of Harry always looked very confused. He looked like he did not know what was going on. Meanwhile, the puppet version of Meghan was always making plans to be more famous. She was always talking about branding and media moments. The writers of the show clearly knew what people were saying on the internet. They used those ideas to make their puppets even funnier. It was a very good way to show how many people saw the couple in real life. The show was so mean that some of the videos actually disappeared from the internet. People started to wonder if the royal family or the couple asked for them to be taken down. This made people even more curious. When something is taken away, people want to see it even more. It is called the Streisand effect. Even if they tried to hide the jokes, it just made the jokes more famous. People were talking about the missing videos all over social media. Show South Park did not care about pressure. They are famous for being mean to everyone. They made a whole episode about Harry and Meghan. They did not even use their real names, but everyone knew who they were. They called them the Prince of Canada and his wife. The episode was all about how they wanted privacy, but they kept going on TV to tell everyone about it. They went on a giant tour called the We Want Privacy Tour. It was a very funny way to show how their actions did not match their words. The writers of South Park didn't have to make up much. They just looked at what the couple was actually doing. In the show, the prince had a book called Waag instead of Spare. It was a joke about how he was always crying and complaining. The episode was very brutal. It showed them as people who were only interested in being famous and getting attention. It was one of the most talked about episodes of the show in a long time because it was so true. Every scene in the South Park episode made the joke land harder. They showed the couple living in a house across the street from the main characters. They were always being loud and annoying. It was a way to show how the world feels about them. Many people feel like they cannot turn on the TV without seeing them. They feel like the couple is always shouting for attention while also saying they want to be left alone. It was a very perfect piece of satire. Family Guy also made a very sharp joke. They showed Harry and Meghan sitting by a pool. A butler comes up to them and says they have to go make a post on Instagram for money. Harry says, "I can't believe I left a kingdom for this." It was a very short joke, but it hit very hard. It showed how far they had fallen. They went from being royalty to being people who have to sell things on the internet to pay their bills. It was a very sad and funny thought at the same time. There was also a cartoon called The Prince. This show was all about the royal family. Their version of Meghan was very bold. She was always trying to get more fame. The show made fun of her lifestyle brand. It showed her selling things that were very expensive but not very useful. They even had a scene where she made everyone restart a dinner just because the light was not perfect for a photo. It was a joke about how she is always acting like she is in a movie or a magazine. The show made it look like the most important thing in her life was being in the spotlight. For many comedians, that is the main theme of everything. They think the whole story is just a battle over who gets to be the most famous. They think Harry and Meghan are not really looking for a quiet life. They think they are just looking for a life where they are the ones in charge of the cameras. And as long as they keep trying to be famous, the comedians will keep making jokes about them. In the end, it seems like the couple has become a permanent part of the comedy world. No matter what they do, there will always be someone ready to make a joke about it. They have provided so much material for late-night shows, cartoons, and stand-up comics. Their story has everything that makes a good joke: money, drama, royalty, and a lot of contradictions. As long as they stay in the public eye, the world will keep watching, and more importantly, the world will keep laughing at the royal drama.